All right, and this is a recording. So I don't know who wants to start off.
Rob, you want to do the intro?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you guys for being here. Um, we've had a ton going on, as you probably have heard if you've been tapping into our spaces or our Discord AMAs or our content. A lot happening in front of the curtain. A ton happening behind the curtain, and when you're doing a lot of things behind the curtain, you can't always talk about it in front of the curtain. So I think there's been a lot of questions. We've had the sale going on that just kind of wrapped. So I think we wanted to take today to connect with everyone. Like, you guys have been amazing. Some people have been here longer than I have. Many people have been here longer than I have, and we've had many come on over the last few months. So first of all, we just want to, if we can't say it enough, but appreciate your participation in the community and whatever that means to you. I know Chelsea's been doing a lot of community games, and I've been trying to tap into those too. That's been amazing, and just having people tune into the Marketing Monday spaces. And for those of you that got your hands on some Gang, Ferro card NFTs, and anything. So I wanted to lead with that, but we just wanted to kind of get the team here to answer any questions. So I don't know if we have a specific format for that. I know generally people are just dropping them in stage Q&A, so we can start there. I don't know if there's any part of that I missed, Gary, or if you wanted to piggyback on any of those thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I know some of the questions that we're going to get right out the gate. I want to talk a bit about the token sale, plans moving forward, all that fun stuff, and just get a lot of that stuff out of the way, because we have some cool announcements too that we want to cover during this AMA. The token sale with LCX. So from the outset, we said we were going to wait until after the token sale closed to disclose how it went. There's a number of reasons for that. Partly because if it wasn't doing well, we didn't want to create a ton of negative sentiment. If it was doing well, while everyone thinks FOMO is great, most of our community that's been with us for a while is fairly familiar with the fact that we're not big fans of bullshit hype. And that's all that sort of FOMO would have built. And again, it sounds great, but it really isn't. So it was a double-edged sword that we just wanted to avoid. And I think it was the right call. I still stand with that. The sale was, to put in a word, a flop. Unfortunately, we did not sell much, less than 5 figures worth. So that, for the team, is remarkably, frustrating. You see a lot of nonsense in this space get absurd amounts of capital. And for us to have done everything we've done to this point, all we've built, and to have that, it's unfortunate. It's not the end of the world, however. It just means it's going to be a slower build for liquidity and things like that. For distribution, following on that, the small amount that was purchased obviously going to be distributed over a few months. We're coming up with a plan to release the Gang to NFT holders over a period of time. We'd like to speak with our guardians and our NFT holders to see, what sort of timeline is workable there. The longer, the more stable, the better. Unless we have some big capital event, then we could revisit that. But it's a conversation we want to have with you, our community. Like, a lot of our NFT holders have been here for a year and 4 days now. Last July 8th, we sold the first Ferro cards. And so those community members have been here, patient and part of our community this whole time for a year. Ferret's been here since that point. I know Mayhem, Smeagol, Squig, a bunch of others that are here listening. You've all been here supporting us and following us for a year to get to this point. At this point, having a large capital injection would be helpful. But again, it is what it is. So I'll likely be making a post in Guardian chat or the Guardian forum to have a conversation with you guys, and then another one in Iron NFT, that channel, so we can talk about releasing Gang along what schedule. I'd like it to be somewhere in the 6 to 12 month range, most likely. That gives us plenty of time to work with it. That way, we're protecting our ecosystem. We also have to be very mindful of our partners. Right out the gate, we're partnering with CryptoLink and pairing with Paper, and that's going to be about a $500,000 liquidity pool on Gauss. But they have, it would impact their liquidity on all other chains, depending on how buy-sell pressure ends up working. For those that weren't able to participate in the public sale, which I know happened to a number of you, if you're listening to this, let us know if you had KYC issues or if you're not an American citizen and you weren't able to participate in the LCX sale. Because there's still conversations we're having with them. Had a meeting with them earlier this week with their CEO Monty, have another one on Friday. So we're still working out all of that and listing and everything else. So let us know so we can, give them a bit more feedback on that front as well. As far as other exchanges are concerned and the LCX listing, all of that costs money. It's not just a matter of us putting up Gang on an exchange. Sometimes there's listing fees. There's always a fee to build liquidity in those exchanges, working with market makers usually. It depends on how many pairings you want, the exchange, everything else. So we have all those plans. It's just going to take time. We have to, get the ecosystem up, start transacting on the ecosystem, start launching and building on the ecosystem, and just build slower until we hit some large capital events. I've said before, I don't know if I said it during an AMA, but for us, we need, 10 small projects doing about 55,000 a day in volume. And that puts us, so 550,000 a day in volume in the ecosystem. And that puts us at 10 million revenue a year. And that's a really good launch point for us. So just to give you an idea of, the milestones that we're looking at. What else? I know that's a whole bunch that we've covered right there. I haven't been following chat to see what questions are in there. Austin was talking about Circle. Yeah, we have a lot of conversations. We can talk about that because they're a big entity that's kind of known, and I've said before, we're fans. We need to have stables in the ecosystem, obviously. We would prefer to have USDC and Circle's products there, but that's going to take time as well. They want to see Gauss have sufficient momentum and transaction volume before they're willing to do that. So we're exploring other options to include USD Plus with overnight finance. They're fairly small still, but they've maintained their peg. We met with them, I think it was last October, and it was still early for them. I was still unsure. We're very, like Bridges, we're wary of stable coins as well. But they've held strong this, whole time. So it may be that we end up working with them. That's a conversation we're still exploring. How much was raised from let's see. Ahmed asked, how much was raised from public sale and how much has been raised overall? So the private and public sale, both, that's what I was saying. We raised less than 5 figures. That's the unfortunate truth. We had suspected that worst case scenario, we'd be pulling in about 150,000, and we've spent middling 5 figures on the public or on the sale overall. That's legal fees over in Europe, which stack up really fast, and a number of other things, marketing and all that stuff. So it's unfortunate that, in my opinion, the right path is the more challenging path. At any point, we could work with a number of low quality influencers that have large followings, give them some sort of token deal, which we almost did. We actually made a deal, $150,000 deal for one of the largest Twitter spaces out there, and we decided to step back from that. Things like that. And that was, they're one of the better quality ones that we've seen. It's unfortunate. It's really challenging to find quality people to work with, but that's part of why we're building Gauss in the first place, right? How much of it would have been allocated to liquidity? Well, that was the point of the token sale, right? 100% of that ideally would have been going to liquidity, less fees and costs and everything else, because LCX gets a cut and everything. So that was the point of the token sale, was to put that toward liquidity in the ecosystem. Let's see, Gang will be airdropped, Zealy competition, Yeah, the all Gang is going to be pushed out on a release schedule, because it doesn't make sense for us to dump everything out there with not a large amount of liquidity. Something else we may be doing, and I'm not a huge fan of this, is having a higher transaction fee in the short term, and then using 2/3 of that to slowly build more liquidity over time. So that's another option we're exploring. I don't like it because I don't like people feeling trapped and like, they can't exit if they want to, or can't sell a product if they want to. But it's, again, looking at everything, the ideal outcome is to protect the ecosystem. So that's, why that may happen. It'll probably be 10 to 15%. And like I said, taking 2/3 of that and just constantly putting it back into liquidity. So that's that. I've rambled on a whole bunch about this one.
Yeah, I'll take a second to pop in and shout out to you, Gary, because this guy in Austin and everybody have been working tirelessly for months and late hours into the morning. And this is it's a blow to not have great news to deliver. It's a freaking unfortunate time to be launching a blockchain, launching a token with the sentiment out there, and people like forget about not buying. People just all in all like just leaving the space. And I think, I'm a believer in kind of everything happens for a reason. And, going back to turning down a huge opportunity to work with someone that might be great in the short term, but it just doesn't align with what Gauss is all about in the long term. Like, those are really tough decisions, especially when you're in a tough spot. So I wanted to say that. But I also wanted to say, like, we're having a lot of going back to the behind the curtain stuff, and we can't put names and announcements out just yet. Like, we're super close on a couple, but the conversations that we're having with people that are actually building things, like, there's a lot of good people out there that really see what we're building. They see the vision, and they want to attach their horse to it. Like, it's happening. It's not native to the Web3 that we've known in the past couple of years, where everything is just happening super, super fast. And all right, I'm buying this much of a crypto on Tuesday, and then on Saturday I can flip it for this. It's just not that's just not the ecosystem anymore. When you're dealing with projects and companies and actual businesses that are building things the right way, building a foundation takes a long time. So I wanted to put out there that there's really some positive things going on behind the scenes, and just like anyone listening here, like you guys believe in it, there are other people that do see the value of a safe ecosystem that we're building. So I'd be hesitant not to amplify that message, because that's what that's what I've heard from day one, and that's what led me to be here and stay here. And it's really nice to get the partnerships, and shout out to everyone in Zealy that are sending over those referrals, tapping into Marketing Monday, sending recommendations to Marketing Monday, because all of those little conversations help us build our network and help build that foundation. So I wanted to say that, because I don't think it gets said enough, and I know it's very abstract when we can't put up the tweet with the graphic like, okay, here's the big announcement, here's the partnership, but it is, things are moving. Just
we have some of those we have two of those announcements today, so there is that. I want to answer a couple more of Ahmed's asking great questions in here. Ahmed said, I personally feel like it would have been better if public sale had happened on a DEX on Polygon or something like that. So part of what we did do with this sale, and it may seem trivial at the moment, but Gauss has the first regulatory compliant chain native token sale in Europe, and potentially more broad even than that. But part of that for us lays the groundwork in saying, look, we're doing everything right that we can do. There isn't a path to doing that within the United States. And the downside of that, working with DEXs and launchpads and everything else before we did what we did, is that there's been a lot of legal crackdowns in the United States. The way I see it, we're selling a digital product, a digital arcade token to the arcade of Gauss. Our government hasn't, put things together and made a sensible path forward. So we're doing what we can. That's the biggest reason why we did what we did with LCX, right? We will still, like, all of the gang that exists, we're going to be putting out there in incentive programs, be that the grant program, liquidity program, community engagement incentives like Zealy and Gleam and things like that. We will still end up having some sales, and we'll have some on-ramps so people can buy gang from those on-ramps with, a debit card or what have you, or stables with some of the on-ramps. So that's part of why we did what we did, right? And I still stand by that decision, because if we had done anything else first, that's a door that once closed couldn't be reopened for us, right? Given the way Liechtenstein's regulations are written and the way Europe has written MiCA, this was the path to legitimacy for that region of the world, which, I think is leading a lot of this progress right now. Ahmed also asked, would we raise from NFTs and everything? So in the first handful of months last year, I think first 4 or 5 months, whatever it was, the very first month, I think we pulled in 225,000, and then it tapers off over time. All told, it's about 400,000 from NFTs, which we've used as operating capital. The money from those was not intended to be used for liquidity. That's helped us build a team, get audits, legal. If people only had any idea how much legal things cost and audits cost, it Yeah, there have been a lot of expenses. And marketing, as much as I'm not a fan of digital marketing, I've said it so many times, it's just really expensive. Um, what else? What else? I'm trying to scroll through and pick out questions. I don't know if we have a doc going on the back end or if we have mods putting that together right now.
Yeah, I have a small doc going on. Sorry, my volume.
If you can
So I
drop
have
a
one question
link.
from, I think,
Oh, wait, there
Crypto
might be a link
ID.
in mod chat.
So what features from our partners like Overnight or CryptoLink will be available on Gauss?
You're really quiet, Alex. I don't know if that's just me.
That could also be me. How about now?
Yeah, it's a bit better.
All right, so there's one question from Crypto ID. What features from our partners like Overnight or CryptoLink will be available on Gauss?
Yeah, so with CryptoLink, we'll have the paper bridge and will be integrated with any to any. So users will be able to go from Matic to Gang. There's still a couple of things we have to do to get that in order. I know they're launching any to any pretty soon, next few weeks, I think. And hopefully when that goes up, we'll be ready as well. But we'll see on that front. Sphere is still a bit up in the air with where that relationship's going to go. They purchased a chunk of our token, and then there was a token exchange. So we're still going to be working together, just in what capacity. And this actually, for a lot of the people with the referrals and whatnot from Zealy and everything, DeFi protocols like lending things or like a lot of these things that want to resemble banking, we don't really have an interest in launching on Gauss because globally there are overt fights against that, right? You have individual nations and regions fighting against it, and then you have the very large players like WEF, IMF, BIS, all stepping in and swinging their weight against that. They don't want to see DeFi banking protocols. That's a whole big separate conversation, but for that reason, we kind of want to stay away from a number of those things. I think that the use cases in this space extend well beyond line go up, right? The entirety of the speculative nature of this space I don't see it going away, but that's all it's been so far. And I think there's a lot more to it. And that's really what I'm hoping to see and explore over the coming years. So with our partners, we have a number of different things that will be available. I guess I'll take the second to make some of the announcements. One name that everyone in the space is really familiar with is Certic. And they're going to be another Gauss partner, vendor for everyone launching on Gauss. And we'll continue building that relationship more and more over time because they have a lot of other products. KYC security things, a lot of back-end tooling that are really interesting and we'd be interested to work with. So that's one that one took us 9 months, I think, almost a year, Austin. Pat knows the exact date because he was part of all those, but it took forever to get that deal done, right? And that's kind of the scale of things we're working with. It's not just one meeting and we shake hands. Like, we had a number of meetings, came to good terms, and then our attorneys and their attorneys literally went back and forth for months about minor changes in the agreement. But we're happy, that's all done and we can continue building on. Like another partner of ours, Anchain, that we have announced before, we're taking another step with them, which we can share screen in this. So if anyone's unfamiliar with Anchain, They're kind of like Certic. They do auditing and whatnot, but moreover, they do a lot of security tooling. So they have a number of products that they offer that are great for smart contract security, on-chain security, security monitoring, all of that. And I'm going to tap in a second to talk a bit more on it because this is his wheelhouse. But we've struck a deal with Anchain to use their Web3 SOC tool, or Security Operations Center tool, not just for Gauss, but available to every single project launching on Gauss. So we have an unlimited license with them that we've negotiated. So everyone launching on Gauss is able to use this Security Command Center feature. And this is one of a number of things that we're going to be including in a back-end client dashboard. So what we want to do, an analogy I've been using recently, we don't want Gauss to just be a big empty warehouse that you can throw a really cool rave at. Those are fun. Those are cool. They're not entirely legal. Anyone can do it. I mean, in the 90s, people, and probably even still to this day, just go cut locks on empty warehouses and throw underground raves. That's kind of the way I see Ethereum, Polygon, and everything else. They're great spaces, blank canvases to do whatever you want with, but they're not, Pepsi's not going to go throw an underground rave in a warehouse, empty warehouse. We want to be Radio City Music Hall. We want to provide, sound, stage, lighting, staffing, security, a whole number of other things for everyone launching on Gauss. They don't have to use them, but those tools are there to help benefit them. So, hopefully that illustrates a bit more of what we're working toward, for enterprise solutions and tooling and things like that. Austin, did you want to talk a bit about Certic and Anchain and WebSock and all that fun stuff?
I mean, you kind of knocked it out of the park. The WebSock tool is going to be honestly pretty fantastic for both us and the clients that launch with us. It does allow for some manual integration and things like that where you can customize what you're trying to watch for, what you're trying to protect against. But it also has an AI-driven model that can basically look for suspicious activity in contracts. So, of course, we have our curation process that would try to weed out as much as possible. But this also gives us one extra layer of security that allows us to, make sure that there are no bad actors, make sure there aren't bots that are trying to pull liquidity and things like that. And it allows us to immediately respond inside of this tool and, let's say, pause trading for a moment until things get figured out or whatever the case might be. So it's a pretty powerful tool, and I'm super excited that they're willing to work with us and actually build this out for us. We're actually going to be one of the first companies to use it, and they are building one specifically for us, tailored to our needs. So that's super exciting.
Yeah. I know for the community at large, like, this isn't big, flashy, whatever, but it's awesome. Like, I really wish I could explain to you, like, this is one of those things, if you look at a live event, going back to the warehouse and Radio City Music Hall, this is kind of like the line array sound system style of thing. It's really, really cool. People don't understand the technical aspects. They're just like, yeah, this looks and sounds great. And that's the intent. A lot of the things behind the scenes to help us and to help everyone building and launching on Gauss, we want to have that all in place. And normally there is a licensing fee, like a monthly fee you pay for these things, but that's part of our deal with them and part of what we want to do with everyone launching on Gauss. Ideally, we don't want to have Gauss clients paying, 100 different fees to use, Web3 SOC and something from Certic and Collabland or, whatever wallet or account abstraction features. Like, these things stack up for businesses and they just add a ton of complexity. Like, if you look at anyone's tech stack, It just gets really, really thick very, very quick. And we want to avoid as much of that as is possible. So this is a really big and exciting step for us, and one of many others like it that we're working on. Kind of like the Gnosis integration, because we already have that done. Which have we even talked about that one or announced it? I know we have so many different things going on. The wallet abstraction stuff's another one right now, but have we sent anything, Austin?
I don't think we have.
Well, go for it. You did it.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that many of you are familiar with Gnosis Safe, or rather, I think it's just called Safe now. They've changed their name. But they're a phenomenal multi-sig wallet, a vesting tool, and things like that. That's going to be our main multi-sig investing tool on Gauss. It's going to be how we send out the gang to our team members, to the clients, potentially to the NFT holders and things like that.
Yep. Just a quick note on it. Let's see, we did have a couple other questions. Oh, one of them from our own Sloth, I think. Any plan where you could withdraw gang to your own wallet? Yeah, so the gang distributed by LCX from the public sale. We're giving it to them. I actually am not entirely familiar with how they handle their claiming process and all of that. Being an exchange, they have their own internal custodial wallets and whatnot, but you can send that to your own, MetaMask or whatever wallet from that, like any other token, any other exchange. So, yes, to answer your question. Any other cool questions that we have?
And we kind of glossed over the Certic deal, by the way. We are going to be an ecosystem level partner with them, which means pretty much all of the products that they have, we will be integrated in with them. So you can use their Skynet, which is an on-chain monitoring tool, and Insights, Bug Bounty, and a bunch of other different services that they provide. We will have direct integration with.
Yep. Our aim is to end up over here with featured ecosystems and things. That's still going to take time because, again, we're laying that foundational groundwork. But yeah, that's part of, what we're doing with those partners. It's not just a low-level, whatever, I don't know, co-promotion thing that you see a lot of times in this space. So I agree. It is really cool. And if anyone's familiar with any of those tools, they are really cool. If not, like teams use these all the time for a lot of different things. Skynet and what was the other one? Sky Harbor. I still can't believe they named it Skynet. Anyway.
I think it's great.
Should have been like really AI centric if you're going to use the name Skynet.
Fair.
Let's see. Amando, KYC's biggest. Oh, there wasn't a question. That was a comment. How is Austin coming with the wallet abstraction system? We actually just spoke about this yesterday or something.
I was in the middle of typing that message out. But yeah, we had a great call with a company this week. They're sending us 3 different proposals. One of them would actually involve us giving them a grant to build that wallet on Gauss. So a couple little details to work on that, but once we have more details to share, we will.
Yep. It's a big part of what we want to do, though. Like, ideally, our front-end dashboard, the client or the user dashboard, will end up having an account with a wallet, not a, it's a wallet where users would have custody of their own assets inside of their account within our dashboard. So emulating experiences that users are already familiar with, Steam and Epic or Google Play and things like that.
Well, on that particular note, it actually allows you to log in using all of those. So you can log in using Steam and Twitter and Facebook and Google and whatever. So instead of instead of having to remember a private key and using MetaMask and everything like that, it kind of abstracts all of that Web3 stuff and puts it on the back end so that it's a little bit more easy for users to use. And
Right.
We have another question by Ahmed. Are any funds being used to yield farm to increase the amounts of funds the team can use towards other costs?
I saw that one. Are there any funds being used to yield farm to increase? No. So one thing we decided on early on, 40,000 or 400,000 is a pretty good amount. We have a team of 20 that have been with us for almost a year now. The amount of work that we've done with 400,000 is, in my opinion, remarkable. But no, we weren't using those funds to, try and yield anything or anything else. We decided not to gamble with the revenue that we had because it's limited. When we have hundreds of millions, sure, we can have a team dedicated to taking a small percentage of our capital, our revenue, and doing that. That's typical business. For startups to do that, it's, in my opinion, irresponsible, right? There have been so many things that have happened in this space. I mean, hell, the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. Fortunately, we had it in Circle, but that was still, Circle dropped down, I think, to the 80s or 90s, whatever, temporarily, and there was concern there for a bit, and that's one of the least risky places you can have your capital. No, we've not wanted to risk money from some DEX going under or from some pool getting hacked or tokens tanking or any number of other things. It sounds appealing. The upside potential, sure, always sounds appealing. But at the end of the day, is a 10% potential gain worth 100% loss? I'd argue not at that level of capital, with it being the entirety of our capital. So that's just part of our philosophy, right? This space is very, very, very tumultuous. It's I often call it, unregulated lotteries at this point. So what else do we have? I'm so glad my microphone doesn't pick up. We have yard people doing things right now. There's a blower right outside my window.
So there's one by KLMs. When will liquidity be added on NobleSwap with USD Plus?
So to start, we're going to have gang paper pairing, gang noble pairing. USD Plus pairing is something we're still negotiating actively right now. I don't know that will even end up happening. We'll see which stables we end up with. We need stables in Gauss. It's a question of which ones, how that's going to work, and everything else. The other side of that is we don't have really capital to build liquidity. So that would have to be an arrangement between us and USD Plus for them to bridge in USD Plus to pair with Gang, and then us probably split the LP 50-50 and lock it. So that's an ongoing conversation. Yes, Smeagol, the Gang from Gleam and Zeely, I was saying this earlier, will be released over time, not in one giant fell swoop. That I'm even less concerned about than our NFT holders. I'm not saying I don't care about our contest participants at all. Not. But for those participating in contests, it's a lower threshold of entry than somebody who's bought 50 NFTs and is now having to swallow that pill of being, having their gang released over time. All of this stuff is, we're very mindful of, and we want to involve the community in these conversations. But if you look at any decision and one option protects the ecosystem and the other one doesn't, we're almost always going to go with that first option. Come on, it's not going to take that long, Ferret. Jeez. All right, what else do we have questions-wise? Oh, we can also talk about, without saying who it is, the dashboard that we were just talking about. We may end up working with, ideally, again, a lot of these things we wanted to have capital to hire internal developers for, because we do have to let Austin out to see sunlight once in a while. So working with somebody else to help develop the dashboard is something we're exploring, and not, an overseas dev farm or something like that, but somebody else that we're already partnering with for Gauss that we haven't announced yet, who's migrating a project to Gauss, maybe launching a platform with us, and may also be collaborating with us on our dashboard. That is so remarkably cool. I'm really excited about that one. Kurosaki, I don't think it's a stupid idea. The stupid idea, if we had 5.1 million sold in a token sale, then sure, we can release as much gang as we want. That's what we'd planned for. 105,000 out of what would have been, 7-8 million total in liquidity is nothing. It wouldn't have moved the needle. At this point, if we don't vest it, it would have very much hurt our ecosystem and our partners. I fully suspect a lot of the gang going out in the Zeely and Gleam to be sold. I think a lot of our community members, those who've been remarkably active and loyal and here, I think they're going to stake and buy more NFTs and whatever else they want to do, just hold it. But I think a lot of those that are here just for the contest would immediately exit, right? I fully suspect that. And I'm not faulting that at all. But I have to protect our ecosystem and I have to protect our partners. So if we were to put out 105,000 and let's say 100% of it exited, it could destroy CryptoLink. So again, that's not something we're willing to do to appease a handful of, contest participants who may be upset. And that's unfortunate, but it's the situation we're in. We didn't sell $5.1 million worth of gang in a private and public sale. Unfortunate. You have to roll with the punches and move forward. Yes, I did wash my hands before the AMA. You can actually ask Squig or Austin. They know me personally very well. I wash my hands a lot. If I'm cooking, I wash my hands like 50 times while cooking.
I've seen.
Good.
I've seen that in a few AMAs now. I'm missing that joke.
It's one of, so way back with Sim from Sphere, he was talking with Jesse Eckel and T-Funk on a call that they recorded, and something was mentioned about him washing his hands, and that's where that entire thing got started. And so now Sim is the hand washer. It's kind of like the Sim and I, I love the sound of his eyes. It's an old joke. Because he's not doxxed, nobody's seen his face, all that stuff. So I joked about that a lot publicly, and then he jokes about my beard, and we have that public bromance, whatever. But yeah, that's where the hand washing thing comes from. I'm not like neurotic about it, but and I don't know that I'd call him neurotic about it either. But I do think like washing your hands, if you're going to be touching your face or eating or whatever, yeah, wash your damn hands, you filthy animals. What other questions do we have here? Yep. See, thanks, Austin. See, this whole conversation, I'm not going to lie, this whole thing, I normally look forward to our AMAs. This one was a bit more challenging for me. This is the first one I haven't been like thoroughly excited and amped to have beforehand because it's a very hard conversation. Nobody in this community or team wanted this sale to succeed and fully sell out and everything else more than me. I think plenty of others wanted it too, perhaps just less than me, but like, trust me, it's unfortunate. But on the flip side of that, it's not, a cliff. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of anything. It's just a speed bump, right? It just means that rather than hopping on the freeway and doing 80, we're taking back roads and have to deal with some more speed bumps and driving 15 miles an hour for a while longer. It is what it is. Further marketing strategies and or ambassador program, yes. The marketing strategies, again, are challenging. We've had a number of them at varying degrees of success. The most recent one was probably the most successful because we were using it for lead generation, not directly pushing into the token sale, perhaps. And then we were using those emails gathered to contact and reach out, which obviously that part didn't work. But the lead generation part, we did get quality leads. So it's very, very, very challenging unless you have exorbitant amounts of money to break through the noise, or unless you can do some viral advertising or whatnot, which is lightning striking, right? With no existence of lightning rods anyway. Yes, we have ideas and strategies, but really for us, we have to keep focusing on building partners and, client roster. That is what Gauss is, business to business first, right? We have our community. We're going to have our community of users and everything else. But when we land a single client, they can bring us thousands or tens of thousands or more of users, which is a far better use of our time, attention, everything than trying to run more and more paid ads or anything like that. So the client referral program we rolled out is kind of a sort of, ambassador program, and it's not going to work for everyone. I've said this in our main chat before that, the Zeely campaign was to help educate people that thing exists, but it's not going to be something everyone, can unfortunately take care of or take advantage of. It's going to require people that have connections or are able to connect and network to really take advantage of that program. It also is going to take some discernment on part of the individual to say, okay, this project is or could be awesome. Hey, it's a cool indie game studio. They have a lot of the right components. Gauss can help them succeed. Make that connection, and that can be awesome. Versus what we've gotten a ton of, and not just from client referrals, but from random people applying to launch on Gauss, is a lot of very low quality things. Like I said before, lending protocols and things like that. A lot of the DeFi degenerate things that just don't fit on Gauss. Especially not while we don't have transaction volume. That makes even less sense. So hopefully that answers that one for you, Sloth. VCs. So this whole time, Smeagol, we've been speaking with venture capitalists as well. If you follow me on Twitter, I've spoken about that a number of times, the raise in public hashtag that I'd been using. We're still having a lot of those conversations. It's something that in startup land, you almost never stop pursuing, but we're in a very odd space right now. Normally, people raise money with an idea, like that damned AI startup Mistral that just raised 113 million in 4 weeks after coming up with an idea. And thus far, their idea seems to be, we're going to kill OpenAI. Anyway, a little bit frustrating on that front, but we're in this weird space where we're post-product, pre-traction. And so that presents a number of other unique challenges in speaking with VCs, because they're like, okay, well, you have a product, what's your traction? And I say, okay, well, we've bootstrapped to build the product and we're working on traction now. We could use capital to help expand the team to further development and really help gain traction faster in this whole market, right? The macro market, as I've talked about for the last year of all these AMAs, I've tried to stray away from doom and gloom, but it's not pretty. It's not pleasant. It's not a positive capital market out there. Everything that's happened in the space has only kind of made it worse too, right? Every single collapse, every day, like it's vindicating every day to see another scam. I hate seeing it, but it's vindicating. It also makes it harder. Well, the problems we're aiming to solve, because they exist so prolifically, make everything harder for us right now. But they also, in my opinion, stand as very stark beacons of why Gauss needs to exist. So, what's the next step? Will Gauss team follow? You want a detailed roadmap. We've strayed away from detailed roadmaps this whole time. Those who've been in our community for a year know that we have a roadmap. We have internal roadmaps that are far more detailed, but even those are fairly loose because everything's capital dependent, right? If we were to have sold 5.1 million in the token sale and raise 5 million in the equity round, that would put us on a vastly different trajectory than where we're at right now. That 15 miles an hour versus the freeway. I don't know what road closures we're going to find or obstacles or everything else. It's going to be a bumpy road taking these back roads until we can hop on that freeway. So the roadmap, we have a lot that we're doing, but I'd rather talk about them generally after they're done. Like, the amount of work that we've done, if you take any other project, every single person in here or listening later, if you look at any other project that you've ever followed or supported and compare the amount of code that they've deployed or work that they've done to Gauss, I think that you would find most all of them are an order of magnitude less than what we've done. And we don't hype a lot of that up. We just fucking do it. Or Austin does. There's plenty of others that's not just code-based, but that is a really easy, tangible example, right? All of these partnerships that take us 9 months, a year of negotiations and whatnot, constantly, like if you guys saw my calendar, all of that crap, it would be easier for us to sell fucking pretty JPEGs with hopes and dreams and a pretty roadmap than actually delivering and doing shit. So you want a detailed roadmap? That's great. That's not how businesses work. If you want to send me, $100,000 or $1 million, be a board observer, all of that stuff, by all means, that's a separate conversation. And then you can see the internal roadmaps and everything else. Gauss is a company. We're not a crypto project. We're a tech startup. So, yeah, we're just going to keep building and delivering at rates that are feasible for us. And I don't mean to, like, I hope that tone isn't like coming off as attacking you. It's not. I love that question and I love being able to answer it. That's me being passionate. This is something I'm very, very passionate about, doing things differently in this industry. So thank you for asking that one. And I hope you don't feel attacked with my my zeal in responding.
Clip it, Alex.
And further on that point too, I mean, I think like
Doing it.
one of the most telling things is the conversations that we're having with these partners, right? I mean, we're just now finally getting everything launched and we're moving toward an open chain. Every single one of these partners that we've talked to, you know, we've had conversations with them before the AMA and told them where we're at. They're still really excited to work with us because they know this is something that's needed in the space. And I think that's something really important to showcase and share, you know?
Yeah, I think, again, everything would be easier if we weren't so serious about it and sticking to our guns and being uncompromising, right? It would be great. Like, Austin and I had a phenomenal conversation with somebody we will likely partner with that I referred to as a titan in this industry. Like, every single person in this community and, you know, tens of thousands of others knows that product. And that's just going to take time and money to build that relationship. And we have a lot of those, right? And the conversations we have with brands too, most of the time they're like, oh, fuck blockchain, you're talking about blockchain stuff. And we start having the conversation and I'm like, no, we're talking about digital products. They do happen to be on chain. That's just a, method of proving provenance or ownership or tracking transactions and things like that. It's a novel solution to any other problem that you'd have with e-commerce or different things. And so we start talking about their digital products and their future of digital products and the problems that they do see and how we can solve those problems. That's the way we approach a lot of these conversations is what problems do you have? How can we help solve them? Because that's the way they need to go. We're not overselling or overhyping the benefits of blockchain and everything else in 5 and 10 years to them, right? I talk about that plenty if they want to have that conversation, but by and large, they want to see, how does this impact us and benefit us now? Yeah. And there's so many of those that are really positive conversations. They just take for fucking ever. I wish. Oh boy. The bigger the enterprise, the longer these conversations take. There's so many more people involved and teams involved and people have to buy in and sign off, and then that's all before you even get to legal. So unlike your favorite degen project out there, doing things the right way is painful and long and tedious.
And I know we dropped that partner and affiliate link to our website, but I can guarantee that there are many more conversations and going on and potential connections that we're making right now that we just can't list on there yet because we haven't signed the agreement or we're not quite there yet. So we're very excited over the next few months to announce some of those.
Yeah. Ask Eminem yet? No. I'm sure we have, we're probably 2 degrees of separation from him and everyone else. We've had a number of conversations with really solid management teams, talent management teams, that is, artists agencies, all of those different things. A lot of them are very, very wary right now because so many people have done it wrong. And that's something else that is a challenge, right? We could, if we had money, You can work with anyone in this world if you have money. You give them a chunk of money, you license out their brand, and you do what the fuck you want with it that was agreed upon. That's easy. That's what you see most of the time with like Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's been part of dozens of Web3 licensing projects and whatnot. The conversation we want to have with Snoop Dogg is we want you to launch a token with us and own your own projects and ecosystems and everything else. Rather than us giving him whatever smaller amount of money, he would own that ecosystem, which is a larger ask too, right? That's saying you're committing to this much the way Gary Vee has as an evergreen digital product. Fortunately, there are a number out there that are interested in that conversation, even this early, like the early adopters of MySpace back in the day, who didn't really understand what social media was back then, but were really excited to fucking experiment and try it out. Same kind of thing is happening here. So it's funny that you say that, Schmiegel. Like, he and I aren't homies or anything, but our network is impressive. The number of people that we could get on a phone call within a week or two or less is really impressive. A lot of those conversations, though, we're not ready for either. There's one of the largest, how do you put it? One of the largest musical acts of history that we have a connection with, that we want to have a conversation with. We know what their plans are for their brand over the next 5-ish years and have a really compelling case to make with them, but Gauss is not ready to make that case with them. We need to be able to go into there and say, hey, here's a plan, here's a turnkey solution, everything else. Like, we have these third-party vendors that we can connect you with to handle all of the product development and platform development and everything else. And then we can launch this really cool evergreen digital product campaign that gives you a digital legacy to tie to your brand. That's one that we're working on, but we're a hot minute off from that conversation. Random tangents. What else we got? It's funny, we still haven't named the partner chat we're going to have for Friday. Mac wants to have one, like an AMA or a fireside chat with our partners on Fridays, and I was joking about calling it fireside. What did I say in the meeting yesterday?
Friday with a PH.
Yeah, but there was some other word that went with it. Oh, Partner Friday. So it was PP. That's right. It was Partner Friday. So dumb. Somebody has to come up with a way better name than that or anything else that's been suggested. It's funny that did occur to me. That did occur to me, Ferret. Liquidity as a service. So far as I'm aware, nobody is offering that at the moment. If anyone were offering any sort of liquidity as a service or large-scale Web3 lending, it would be like, I want to have those conversations.
He may have been referring to Sphere on that one.
No, I know, and I think they rolled it out and then never did anything with it, didn't engage with it because there were a number of challenges. I don't think they ever actually did liquidity as a service.
Right.
Because that was one of the things we'd initially talked about. But because they should still have a fairly healthy treasury. Yeah, that's right, QLAS. Yep. But so far as I'm aware, that wasn't, anyone else. And Tetu, if I'm not mistaken, isn't actually a Sphere ecosystem product. It's outside of them that they've worked with. Right, just a partner. And that's a whole roller coaster as well. Which and I'm not knocking Sim or Sphere or anything like that because I still love those guys to death, but that's unfortunate. You see a lot of those things happen, right? You partner with somebody and then they just falter, fail, don't deliver, whatever. And that happens to a number in this space. So, Fellow Fridays. I could dig that one. Fellow Fridays. I mean, the other downside of quantum liquidity as a service, as I recall it, is it was synthetic liquidity. It was basically packaging a vampire attack, which Austin and I have talked a bunch about recently, but packaging a vampire attack as a service, right? You're just borrowing liquidity from another pairing, using it like it's a cup game. And programmatically, it's possible unless it breaks, and then it's like building a house of cards. That was another thing about that. So, well, and see, that's part of my problem with things like roadmaps and whatnot. And I'll talk about some of the larger things that we're doing, that like our dashboards, some of the protocols, architecture changes. The Omni pool has been a big one for a long time. That honestly, and Austin could, I don't think, Austin, have you looked at the Rust code from Hydra?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so that whole project, even just the Omni pool, is a big, hairy thing to attack, right? So we want to talk about all the things we are doing, want to do, etc. But there's no idea until we have large sums of capital, which is a resource to bring on board more team. We can talk about those things vaguely as the idea, because it's a really freaking awesome thing that'll impact our entire ecosystem down the road. But applying a date to it, hell, I wanted Austin, last year I said I wanted Omnipool and Gauss 2.0 to be launched July of this year, which we're in.
I think that's what you said internally. I think we were shooting for Q3, Q4. Right.
So it's part of the reason we don't talk about that stuff. Like, I set really hard, ambitious goals internally, with the understanding that we're likely not going to hit them. And I will always set those aggressive goals, and sometimes it'll be fine, sometimes it won't. But all of our goals right now are so funding dependent. And we're not in a funding friendly world. Unless you're willing to say everything's AI or hard pivot into some other nonsense. So, what other questions we have? I know we're just over an hour, but I think we can spend another 5-10 minutes answering questions if anyone has some. I think we need to get some Jeopardy music, Alex. The do. That's Jeopardy, right?
Hold on.
Is there anything that we can talk about with some of the companies that are going through the curation process without giving up too much detail? Maybe a little bit of alpha?
Not really, because a lot of them, the curation process, I don't know that we've talked about it publicly before, but we can do the first couple steps really quickly. Ideally, it should only take about 4 weeks for anyone to make it through from start to finish in a curation process. However, that is entirely dependent on the applicant. They can stretch it out to 6 friggin' months or more if they're just unresponsive, So we have a lot of different projects. I don't even know how many at the moment. I think we crossed over 10 or 12 or something that are actively in it that we've accepted into the pipeline and not just, that have applied to us. But yeah, it's entirely dependent on them. There's a bunch of them going through it. They're at different stages right now. Hopefully, we can announce one before the end of this month that's made it through it. They're taking a little bit longer to make it through because the KYC step is, they have a not insignificant team, and they're also remarkably busy. So scheduling time for them to do their KYC interviews and get documentation, all that stuff is challenging for them. I can't really say much more than that, and that was a lot of a nothing burger, Austin.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess the TLDR of that is there is a really awesome project that is in the very final stages of the curation process, pending the KYC review, and we're super excited to work with them and announce them once they make it through.
Yep, I'm really looking forward to that one. I can talk about, something I can say, who they've worked with.
Well, the list on that is smaller than the list of people they've worked with.
What's
They've
that?
worked with everybody in the game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, to give like an idea of the scale, so that I can also say this is the one that we were talking about earlier, that they're migrating a project to Gauss. They are looking to launch a platform on Gauss and maybe partnering with us to help build out our dashboard. I just had a meeting with them and explained to them, I've talked to a couple of our really close partners before this AMA. CryptoLink knew about how the token sale turned out last week. A number of others learned the information. We have NDAs. I can disclose this sort of information privately before it's publicly announced, as it should be. That's just, courtesy and ethics in business. But I had this conversation with them, unsure of how they were going to respond to it, right? Anytime you have something like that with anyone, they could walk. And so there's an amount of trepidation there before a conversation like that, but they were super supportive, really looking forward to working with us, love what we're doing, love what we're building. And these are people that have worked with Visa, MasterCard, Disney, Twitch, NFL, Mercedes, like tons and tons, Coinbase, hilariously enough, tons and tons of other, large brands and whatnot. And all of their clients that they're talking to want a solution like Gauss. So what will end up happening is a lot of agencies that are in the middle, like them, will end up offering Gauss up as a solution. Right now, we're being offered up next to Polygon as a solution for one of their large, Fortune 500 clients. And we have a number of benefits over Polygon because they don't care about Polygon's audience reach, any of that stuff. They care about their end user experience and securing their intellectual property and a number of things that we're building for. So all of that stuff is to say that we're going in the right direction. It'll be nice to have them and a number of others launching, and then them bringing us Fortune 500 clients and that sort of thing. We're fucking getting there, damn it. Been a long road to get to where we are. But the other side of that, we've already been working on Gauss. Like most of these projects that people pour tons of money into end up failing or rugging inside of a few months or 6 months or whatever. We've been building this for a hot minute. We set out with this. We all had a conversation when we got started that I'm going to be with Gauss into my senior years, unless I'm booted from my chair. But I fully intend to be with Gauss for 20 years. I expect most of the rest of the core team, maybe with the exception of Pat, because Pat may end up retiring before 10 years, to stick with us for 10 years. That's the timelines we're looking at. What? Oh, I say fuck all the time. Who cares? It's a word.
It is actually the most versatile word in the English language.
It is. Yep. I use it all the time. One day I will like talk about Gauss Island and so if you're an NFT holder, these are the types of things we talk about all sorts of stuff during holders hangouts. But I brought up Gauss Island and showed Ferret and everything else. No, it's not like an island in the Bahamas or some nonsense like that. It's part nature conservatory or conservation reservation, whatever. Part really cool future plans for Gauss that, again, when I talk about our internal roadmaps and plans and things like that, like they're fairly extensive and they kind of go like touch a lot of different things. But yeah, Gauss Island, which wouldn't be named Gauss Island. Again, I wanted to name it after a female mathematician of that region. Anyway, yeah, the shit we talk about in there. Where's Dory? Oh, Sean is in here. All right. Let's try to keep it under 8 more minutes. Any other questions? We've kind of been rambly here at the end. Yeah, how many exchanges will Gang be listed on? That is entirely time and capital dependent. Again, if 10 million were to fall out of the sky tomorrow, Coinbase, Binance next month. All of that stuff costs money, like tens to hundreds of thousands for listings per exchange. Like there's a per pair price you usually pay with market makers and things like that. So, how many projects in total are going to launch on Gauss so far? Immediately, so we're having CryptoLink immediately to start. There's a handful after that at different steps. That's not a number I really want to disclose at this point because there's a couple other hurdles, stable coins and things like that. And then some others, like we have one in the pipeline that we have a weekly meeting with right now. They've already developed a product and they have another 6 to 12 months of development before they launch. So there's a number of those types of things too. Ferret launcher.
Did we release the code?
I think he's saying that's the code.
Yeah.
The code. First, I saw a request for the standings of Gleam. I don't think we're going to get into that just now. Maybe we'll tease something a little bit later. By the way, it's still running to the end of the month, 31st, longest month of the year. The code for today, though, is yesterday. Yesterday is the code. YESTERDAY.
It's so funny when you go over the code, I totally hear the teacher coming out.
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know if you thought about that before, but I thought about it every time I've heard you say a code. And I hadn't told you till now.
That is funny because I spell it out, and you don't just spell things in everyday life.
Unless you're dealing with children, and communities are kind of like kindergartners, right?
Yes.
You love them to death, but why does that smell? What do you have on your hands?
Yesterday, the code was tomorrow. I'm going to say that's one of the best comments of the AMA.
Yep.
Wonder Bar.
Recently, the code was today.
Yep.
Wasn't it? Oh,
yeah,
it was Saturday.
All the codes came right from my head. There was no AI assistance in any of the creation of the code. So
you should have done in order today, tomorrow, yesterday. Tomorrow was on Sunday. So
yeah, I don't want to be too. I got to keep some suspense. Got to keep people guessing.
No, Alex. Yesterday code is today. Today code is yesterday.
Yesterday code is next week. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are doing serious work in Gleam. earning those entries, showing up to the events, having fun. For those of you that missed War on Sunday, a huge fumble on your part. Try to make it this coming Sunday because War is a great time.
Let's see. I can say that 3 of the top 5 are listening in to this AMA right now. They're here. The range between the entries between first and 5th place is about 50. What else can we say cryptically?
Everyone's got a shot. No one is out of winning.
Yeah, that's the benefit of Gleam, and I really, really like Gleam. But there's, each individual entry has a chance of winning. You just have more individual rolls of that die with more entries.
Yes.
But there is probably, I could probably math it out because there's probably a sweet spot. It's probably not at the top, right? Because that's a lot of work for a single win. You can only win once. So somebody probably did the sweet spot amount of work somewhere in the middle.
We're talking about Gleam now, Sloth.
I was talking about Gleam. Apologies. I just wanted to pop over there and look at the dashboard. Each entry has about a 1 in 120,000 chance. But I can also say there's less than 4,000 users, which impacts the whole thing as well, right? Because each person can only win once. So that's what I mean by there being you could game it out to figure out what the sweet spot would be, which you wouldn't know unless you had access to the dashboard or were disclosing all that stuff throughout the whole contest. But I like numbers. Last chance for questions. 2 minutes left.
Gauss target price in 2024.
There is no target price. It's going to be the price that it is. I can say that once we hit certain milestones, I have an idea of where Gauss circulating market cap will likely be, and how much should be in circulation at those points and times. I can also say that over the long time scale of 10 and 20 years, my concern isn't how high Gauss can go, but is keeping Gauss within a consumer psychology sweet spot of a price range. So there's a fair chance we would end up doing the effective equivalent of a token split down the road where we say issue 5 or 10% more gang to all gang holders, right? So it's not diluting anyone's holdings. It's just lowering the price, much like a stock split, but that's with a security. This is with an arcade token. Just as a mechanism. That's how fiscal policy works. Join Gauss and Alpha. Have you been to Hawaii, Austin?
Absolutely.
Did you eat pizza in Hawaii?
Yes, I did. I even had a Hawaiian, much to the disdain of many people.
So you had pineapple, macadamia nut, and ham?
I don't know if it had macadamia nut on it. That's a good point.
That's a real Hawaiian. That's the only, in Hawaii, that's a Hawaiian pizza. Has macadamia nut.
A little expensive, but beautiful country. Or beautiful
country?
Yeah, I don't know why I said
that. I lived there for 4 years, but
Austin's got to get outside.
Yeah, no kidding.
Get some fresh air.
Once a week. We let him out once a week. I think that's enough for now. I say that and I'm the fucking hermit.
When's the last time
we
you've
make these jokes. Anyway. Yeah, you can throw on some hold music and we can just wind down, Alex. This is like putting kids down for nap time. See, our community are kindergartners. We need some great, like, LeVar Burton sign off. You know what I mean? Like Reading Rainbow, Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross level sign off. Like, thank you all for joining us today. You're such a great community. Go take a nap. Like some. No?
We could use that in the future.
Take a nap.
Yeah, I don't know. Take a nap. Touch grass.
Well, yeah. Thank you, everyone. Make sure to check out the events, everything that's coming up. Make sure to check out the roadmap if you haven't yet. All of the things.
If you have questions, always ask them.